Data centers and Venezuela on the front lines of what's going on in the world. Hang on, buckle up. We've got a great one for you on the Energy News Beat Daily Stand Up. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Energy News Beat Daily Stand Up. Data center boom drives rapid growth and innovation. This is a fantastic story from David Blackmon. I'll tell you what, this is on Forbes. Go out and check Forbes. David Blackmon out there writes the booming data center industry to drive power demand growth across the United States, forcing utility rates rapidly upwards as grid managers struggle to maintain reliability amid increasing tight capacity. The dynamic is especially acute in the PJM region in the northeastern United States. Let me just call a friend. Hey, speaking of that friend, David Blackmon, author on Forbes. How are you this morning?
Man, I'm great. How you doing?
This is a heck of an article. When you sit back and take a look at it, what were you thinking when you wrote this?
Well, what's happening is the PJM grid is being particularly hard hit because that region is being inundated with dozens of new data center projects. PJM encompasses Virginia, Northern Virginia, Maryland, the area around Washington, D.C., where all the three-letter agencies are building out their new human surveillance data centers, so they can adopt AI to spy on us. And that's causing a big drain on the grid. Unfortunately, these states and PJM grid managers haven't implemented a requirement that these new data centers provide their own behind the meter generation. So most of them are just, and at least initially, linking up to the grid and draining power generation from ordinary consumers. So the market gets tight on supply, prices go up unsurprisingly, and household consumers end up footing most of the bill. It's a difficult thing. So these grid managers are having to resort to some unorthodox strategies to kind of deal with this, involving placing tariffs when a data center draws more than contractually agreed to, and things like that try to keep the lights on in everybody's homes and air conditioners up and or heaters, I guess, in this season up and running. It's a difficult situation. We kind of have a different situation in Texas because the Texas legislature actually had foresight on this, thanks to Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick and his staff, who Patrick is one of the most underappreciated statewide officials in Texas. He's very outspoken and very conservative, so the media hates him, and they never give him credit for anything. But it was his office that drove the legislature, the bill that requires new data centers to build their own behind the meter capacity and provide their own power. And so the ERCOT grid's getting hit a little bit because Texas is just a booming place right now with data centers and all sorts of other industrial growth. But it's not in the kind of emergency situation that PJM is, and that some other regional grids are probably going to experience as the data center industry kind of starts to spread out into other parts of the country. It's been heavily focused in that Northeast region, because for a variety of factors, but mainly because it's close to the seat of government. But that's going to change. It's going to spread all across the country, and state legislatures need to follow the Texas example if they want to keep their grids stable.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. But I'll tell you what, data centers need to be built on top of where the power or the energy source is, as opposed to putting in all the transmission lines. That's why there's been a 230% increase back east because of the data centers that you mentioned, to keep an eye on us. Let's go to the next story, David. Chevron on the front lines of Venezuela conflict and in talks with the Trump administration. David, do you remember, you and I are both old enough that 3 years ago, when a tanker was seized or blown up in the Red Sea, $20 spike in oil. We today, as of this morning, we are filming this on 12/11. We had a platform, the Luke oil platform in the Caspian Sea, was bombed by Ukraine. Another tanker was hit by two drones from Ukraine. We had the U.S. board and seize a tanker from Venezuela that was bound for China. And you can't buy this kind of entertainment. But when you take a look at how Venezuela is on the front lines here in the volatile landscape of the energy politics, Chevron Corporation stands as a pivotal player in Venezuela's ongoing crisis.
Yeah.
The only U.S. major still operating in the sanctioned nation, Chevron is navigating a complex web of political tensions. I'll tell you what, you sit back and take a look, they are really poised to really pop in and say, wait a minute, this could be a big deal. As we scroll for our podcast listeners, I have a video on X of from Energy Headline, Cool Cat of this is a little different from Somali pirates going and seizing a ship. You see a helicopter and you see our great SEAL team jumping out there. Here's where, David, this story really starts alluding to, and that is sanctions don't work as intended until they're enforced. I think we're just now seeing enforcement rolling in.
Yeah, I mean, governments always try to enforce sanctions via diplomatic means. Uh, that doesn't always work, obviously. In fact, it seldom works, as we talk about on our Monday podcast, and Arena Slav has talked about for a long time too. And so, with Venezuela, they're obviously resorting to more forcible means to implement the sanctions. Chevron, of course, is the lone big producer of oil now in Venezuela. PDVSA has essentially become a non-entity under the Maduro regime. It's such a shame, tragedy, what's happened to that country. And it all goes back to 2000 and I believe is 6 or 7 when Maduro's predecessor, Hugo Chavez, nationalized the industry and confiscated everyone's assets. Chevron was able to retain a foothold in that country, but everybody else left, and has been able to, resume its production activities to some extent anyway,
Right.
over the past few years. And this tanker was no doubt carrying all that Chevron produced. So, they've got a problem here. But there's a reason why, folks. 30% of U.S. naval assets are amassed in the Caribbean Sea and off the west coast of South America, northwest coast. And, there's going to be a regime change in Venezuela soon. I guess the Trump administration continues to hope they can negotiate Maduro out of there. But he doesn't seem inclined to leave unless they're willing to let him take about $200 million with him so he can, live the lifestyle to which he has become accustomed.
You can't beat this kind of entertainment. Let's roll to the next story, David. When you sit back and take a look, what is going to get us through the data center kind of a thing? I found this story really, really interesting. Innovation from Symphonic Supersonic engine for AI data centers is a game changer in nat gas turbines, in a bold pivot that bridges aerospace innovation with escalating demands of AI. David, for us Oklahoma State guys in Abilene, that's artificial intelligence. Boom Supersonic has unveiled Superpower, a 42 megawatt natural gas turbine engineered specifically for powering AI data centers. I've reached out to him to try to get him on the podcast, and he has got a very cool Blake Scholl. I'm not going to play his voice while we sit here and watch it. But David, this is the kind of innovation that we are going to actually need in order, because there's a 5-year wait, for some of these new gas turbines. He's taking a supersonic engine that he's been working on for a few years, and he's turned around, thrown a Stargate a Starlink from Elon, so these bad dogs could be put right on top of uh, a oil well, excuse me, a natural gas well, and you're off and running, man. This is
Yeah.
pretty. This is cool.
Yeah, and it's the kind of innovative solution these developers have to go to, because wind and solar can't fit the bill, right? They have to be up 99.999 up and running percent of the time. And wind and solar can give them maybe 8 hours a day if they have backup batteries. And so that dog doesn't hunt for these data centers. And so they have to go to natural gas somehow. If you can't get the big turbines, you string together several of these and you're in business.
You bet. But hey, the odds of me getting Blake Scholl on the podcast are probably very light. But hey, I've had
Hey,
a few other folks get
yeah,
on.
gotta
Let's
try.
got to try. Let's go to this next one. Data center boom drives rapid power grid innovation, but is a bubble looming? David, I want to ask your opinion on the explosive growth. I sit here and I look at my day trading practice, and I'm now starting up. You sit back and kind of go, the area called Data Center Alley, we just talked about in a minute. You talk about other assets. When we talk about data centers, everybody's sitting there going, when are we going to make our money back? The oil and gas industry has done a great job taking and giving money back to investors. Oil and gas learned their lesson. Give money back to investors, you get more money. It's kind of like Pavlov's dog, except with money, right? And so now when you sit back and take a look at the projection growth on this chart. This was from S&P Global. And then you take a look at what S&P Global also said was, is it real or are they actually occupied? And I thought S&P Global did an outstanding job on this.
It's a great company for this kind of data.
And when you sit back and take a look, wait a minute, are they actually building these things out for profits? Who's going to pay for it? And how's it going to do? I mean, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, optimism abounds with investments around 450 billion over 5 years, including 300 billion in debt. Trillions more are forecasted. And you have Jamie Dimon putting in trillions of dollars. Is this a potential bubble? Is my question.
Oh, we better all hope not. I mean, you talk about, I mean, if the Bear Stearns was too big to fail back in 2008, think about
Right.
NVIDIA, which is what, a $3 trillion company now. The world can't afford for this boom to be a bubble. And if
No.
it should pop, then we're all in trouble.
Yep. All right. Hey, let's go to the next story. Hey, I'll tell you what, this one I enjoyed. Exxon working with NextEra to develop Gigawatt Data Center for hyperscaler. David, this one really points out you take a look at partnership of E&P operators. Chevron's doing it, but Liberty Energy started this 3 years ago. They were ahead of the curve getting into the data center and energy power system. When you take
And
a
who
look at
was
this,
Liberty Energy CEO at the time?
I believe that was our great Chris Wright. When I interviewed Ron Gusick, the CEO that replaced Chris Wright, he is spot on.
Yeah, he's
They
a great
are
guy.
then leveling out their cash flows instead of having to rely on oil and gas markets like this. They level it out and go, we'd rather be a power company. Well,
Yeah.
Liberty Energy is a great way to do it. So when you take a look at ExxonMobil copying Liberty Energy or Chevron copying that business model, what a compliment.
Yep. Yeah, and Exxon and Chevron both are getting into this in a big way, and it's going to be and we saw yesterday Exxon introduced a new 5-year strategic plan, and they're really emphasizing this part of the business now over the low carbon solutions that they had been emphasizing for the last 5 years. So this is the trend of the future.
You bet. And I'm sold on behind the meter, and I really applaud Texas for making sure that we try to keep our data centers out of here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, I love this M&A deal. M&A deal brings home the first heavy rare earth refinery. When you sit back and take a look, in a groundbreaking move, North America's energy and critical mineral sectors, RE Alloys has emerged with black box stocks which is BLBX, paving the way for first commercial heavy scale rare earth refinery. I'm all in. We need all the stuff we can do here and get rid of China's dependency on that.
Yeah, and compliments again go to who? The Trump administration and Chris Wright for paving the way on this, having the vision to proceed to ensure these kinds of deals get made. I'll never forget the day in June 2021 when Joe Biden promised a whole of government effort to do exactly this kind of thing, and for the following 4 years, his administration did zero.
Yep. In summary, this M&A deal isn't just corporate transaction. It's a strategic pivot towards self-sufficiency. I
Yep.
kind of like that. Boy, the guy that wrote that's a smart cookie. Okay. Hey, David, you got to
Wasn't
love a
me,
good
it was you, not me.
I gotta pat myself on the back once in a while. Hey, U.S. solar installations go through the roof as developers sprint to secure tax credits. Oh my goodness, the tax credits are drying up, and boy, they are letting this thing in here. The U.S. solar industry is experiencing an unprecedented boom with installations surging in 2025 as developers race against the clock to capitalize on expiring tax credits, and they have to only install 2 or whatever the number is. This is disgusting. The frenzy is driven by the looming deadlines of the investment of the tax credit, the ITC, and the production tax credits, the PTC, under the federal legislation, which mandates projects begin construction by July 4th, 2026. And so you had the left-leaning green energy camp going, yay, look at all the solar that's going in. But people are forgetting, David, that the war started with Westinghouse and Tesla. When you sit back and take a look, AC versus DC, you take a look at the asynchronous, the turbine type methodology of the grid, which has been built on for over 100 years, or direct current that you have to transform. Wind and solar is DC. You got to then put a transformer in there, and that is a problem. You lose power when you put it into a DC to AC. And I never thought that one of my favorite bands, the AC/DC, would actually be one of my talking points on a podcast. So
just one comment on this boom in solar right now between now and July 2026 is setting solar up for a Great Depression once those tax credits expire. So it's going to stop.
Yep. And the second part of that is, you and I have talked about this. We have an $89 billion liability hanging out there for the wind turbines alone for land reclamation. Yeah. That's to start. Okay, let's go to the last one here. And when we sit back, Ontario to buy gas assets from Quantum's HG for $2.8 billion. How many more mergers, David, do you think are going to be rolling in? The significant move in the natural gas sector, Antero Resources, the New York Stock Exchange AR, has announced its agreement to acquire upstream natural gas production assets from HG Energy in a portfolio of Quantum Capital Group for $2.8 billion. I think we're going to see some more M&A deals coming around the corner.
Yeah, there's still some to be done out there. You know, the pickings are getting pretty slim. The big corporate mergers have probably kind of run their course, unless somebody wants to try to bite off a Devon Energy or an EOG Resources.
Right.
But these kind of mid-range deals like this one, you know, $2 to $5 billion kinds of deals, there's still those opportunities out there, and we'll continue to see them because economies of scale are so critical to be profitability in these shale formations, and you're just going to have to get fewer companies with bigger footprints to keep them going.
Hey, let's take a moment here and recognize our sponsor. I want to give a shout out to Reese Energy Consulting. If you're in the midstream space, boy, you really need to get your molecules checked. That almost sounds like a really good marketing slogan. I got to call Steve and say, hey, go to reeseenergyconsulting.com and get your molecules checked. But hey, let's go to the markets here. Let me also bring up my next screen here, and That would be this one. And when we take a look at the markets, I'm having a heck of a lot of fun. When you take a look at the NASDAQ, everything is coming up this morning from our cotton picking Fed speaking yesterday. That was absolutely a hoot. I vote all those in favor, get rid of the Fed.
Oh,
Okay.
well, yeah, or at least if you can't do that, get a new leader.
Oh my goodness. If he could stab President Trump in the throat, he would. I mean,
Shut
this
the
he
door.
did. Unbelievable that we'll just leave that alone, but let's take a look at some of the graphs here, and you take a look at the market timing. This one is for all of the I use a vector vest for my day trading, and taking a look at this, they have some outstanding. You take a look at all the petroleum or drilling in the stocks, and this is taking a look at how the market is going and how it is responding to this. But let's take a look at this next one here. And I've got it. This one, this is the overall market as we're looking at right now, and we're seeing that it is going down as now we're going up. It's basically taking a look at it. Day trading is actually very entertaining as I learn how to chew on my fingernails going through and doing some day trading. But let's take a look at Chevron stock. Here is a 3-month chart. Oh, thanks. Why did you do that? Okay, take a look at a 1-month chart here. We're now seeing that whenever the red crosses the green and you take a look at how it's rolling over here on the right-hand side, David, this is now approaching a buy. And I guarantee you that you're going to start seeing Chevron when looking at the volume. Let's take a look at the uh, earnings per share. I would question whether or not to take a look at the earnings per share on this one. I always look for looking at the red crossing the green and looking at the earnings per share as its graph is going up. Chevron, I do not give investment advice. Please check with your investment advisor, but I'm just showing you what I do. This is for entertainment purposes only. And when you take a look, let's take a look at Exxon. I was looking at Exxon. Here is a wonderful difference. And you take a look at that. Look at the earning per share ratio. Look at this chart. I'd be jumping on this one. So I just wanted to bring this up to folks as we're taking a look at the finances. And now I want to add this to the mix here, David. And that is, let's take a look at this. First gold, then copper, now watch energy. Gold is still going up. You take a look at the world markets as it's rolling around a flush. Russia has now got, they bought 30 million tons. I have to go fact check myself on that. Take a look at the copper. Take a look at where oil's going. Where do you think oil is going in the next bit?
Well, it's interesting. I mean, now that the IEA has begun the process of unwinding its massive global glut projections, I suspect energy stocks may start trending upward pretty quickly.
You got it. That's why I'm tracking them. And I like showing folks the difference between earnings per share is critical with market timing. And as we take a look at this, let's go ahead and roll over here. Nat gas was 448 this morning at the time we're recording this, or 448.5. And light crude was 57. I can't believe that we are at 57 bucks with all the geopolitical stuff going on. And you got Brent at 62.37. Drill baby drill is not. I don't understand how we're still producing more. Last week we hit some new all-time highs in the US, but this can't keep on going. And where's the glut is got to be a fantastic commercial. I'm going to be going over to Fort Worth and come by your house. I want to hire somebody so that you and I could do a screen Do you remember that commercial of Where's the Beef? The old ladies in the
Oh
car and they're
my God,
driving
yeah,
like
Wendy's
this.
commercial, yeah.
The Wendy's commercial. Where's the beef? You and I are going to be in the back, and let's have somebody driving us around, Michael Tanner, and have us drive around, and you and I can go, where's the glut? You know,
Where's the glut? Yeah.
we could try to, hey, we could go to California and go to Gavin Newsom's house and say, hey, wait a minute. Now that the pipelines are going to be closing this month, they're going to be putting all the oil drilled in California on tankers, on trucks. I
Trucks
hope
and trains, baby.
trucks and trains, baby. I hope that they're legally driving in the state, Gavin Newsom.
It's such an idiotic situation. I mean, think how much the carbon footprint of moving oil in California is going to increase once that pipeline shuts down. I mean, trucks and trains run on diesel. It's the most counterproductive set of policies in America today, what Gavin Newsom has done with energy in California.
That man, and I'll tell you, I got to, Katie Grimes, the interview that I did with Katie, and she was the editor in chief at the California Globe, and then Mike Umbro. Love those guys. They're out there just absolutely on the front lines, and I couldn't stand to live in California. I prefer living.
I don't know how people do it, honestly.
I do not know it. Well, how do people find you, David?
Oh, it's so simple. Just go out to Substack and actually just Google David Blackmon at Substack, and it all just materializes like magic. Everything I write ends up getting linked or recopied there, and so you want to follow me, that's the place. It's the clearinghouse.
All right. So with that brilliant insight on David Blackmon, my name's Turley, president of the Sandstone Group. Thank you. Go to energynewsbeat.co/invest and then find out if oil and gas is good for your, if you've got your stock portfolio already ready to go and you already know that you've made a lot of money and you're willing in New York or California and you're ready to pay a lot of taxes, go there first. With that, have a great day, folks. We'll talk to you all soon.